Good afternoon, everybody. I'm proud of you. It's Friday afternoon at a conference and you're here, as opposed to going to the airport or maybe getting a little sightseeing in at Barcelona before you head home. My name's Bill English, and I want to welcome you to our session on publishing in SharePoint Server 2007. The title here is actually a little bit misleading. What we're really going to talk about today is both publishing and web content deployment. There's a little bit of debate as to which is what. I define publishing as getting a document from point A to point B in whatever form you want it. Web content deployment is taking content from a staging site, a beta, if you will, site, and putting it and moving it over or copying it over to a production site that has a lot of consumption by a wide audience. Whether that wide audience is your internal users in the enterprise, or an extranet, or maybe even an anonymous access via the internet. So that's what we'll be looking at today in both of these parts of the presentation. This is an incredibly demo-heavy presentation. So for those of you that are at my findability talk on whatever day it was, this is like exactly the opposite. It's almost all demos and very few slides. But my demos are such, and you know, if you ever presented, you'll know what this means. My demos are such that if I get stuck somewhere along the way, I don't have time to recover. So what I did was I put in slides, screenshots in the slide deck. And that does two things. Number one, it gives me something to talk off of and walk you through what it would have looked like if my demos don't work. And secondly, it gives you a step-by-step and a pictorial guide to take back with you. Woohoo! Right? Okay. So I have just finished creating all of the sites that I need. And now we are going to get going on going over a few slides and then getting into the demo. So what we're going to do here today is look at publishing and content, converting documents, working with publishing pages, enabling content deployment, the paths and the jobs, and a little bit of a configuration review. How many of you here are working with SharePoint Server 2007 right now? Okay, how many of you are not working with SharePoint Server 2007? Okay, how many of you did not raise your hand? Well, there's one guy. Okay, I got you marked, buddy. All right. Now, how many of you are working with web content deployment currently in production? How many of you like what you have? Ooh, that's not good. Well, we got some troubleshooting tips in here too, and hopefully we'll clear up some of the problems. The product team is well aware that there are some issues with content deployment, and when we get to that part, we'll talk about that a little bit. Suppose I could use this, couldn't I? Why content deployment? Well, you know, why not? Because we want to take content from a beta site and put it into a production site. How many of you like to have users modifying content on your production sites? Okay, that answers the why content deployment question. Because you want it to be in a beta site where it can be routed through an approval workflow, have those kinds of things happen, get it all buttoned up nice and pretty, and then we send it over to production where it's consumed by a wide audience. Very, very, very straightforward. You can do this within a single SharePoint farm, or you can do it across farms. Okay? Doesn't have to be within the same farm. And you can also take previous solutions that you have developed for your staging site and repackage them up as solution deployments, put them in your production site. In fact, later on you'll see that that's what we really want to see happen. This is a fabulous graphic of what happens. I like graphics, right? We get our master page and our page layouts. I'm going to assume that you know what those are. And we take those and we put content into them through our editors. There's an approval process. We can use some of the reusable content out of the reusable document library. And then we also put it into the pages with the smart client. We wrap it all together and we send it to our, what this calls dev farm. I call it staging. And then either through a firewall or not through a firewall, we deploy it over to production. Publishing, as I define it, happens back here. Deployment, as I define it, happens from here to here. Now, if you don't like how I've defined it, don't worry. We can still like each other, okay? But for the purposes of this conversation, we're going to talk about publishing back here. We're going to talk about deployment here. If there's a question, I'll take one, and then we'll move on. Any questions? Okay, let's move on. So what do? Well, here's the ideal scenario. We take a Word document, a user takes just a generic Word document, converts it into HTML, and then moves it into a pages library in a publishing site, and then that document can appear as a web page within the publishing site. The document's content can be updated from the Word document. So as you update the Word document, you can go to the publishing site page, click on Update Document, and it'll grab that document and pull it up, or the changes to the content and pull it up. Or we can update it through the browser, or if you want to, through SharePoint Designer. I'm only going to demonstrate the browser and the Word document today, not SharePoint Designer. And then we can use web content deployment, if that's a staging site, to then move that over to a production site. So the dots that I want to connect for you conceptually are Word document to HTML, HTML to pages staging to production. Got it? A woohoo would be good here. All right. How do we enable deployment? Well, we have to have the features running on both farms, or better yet, more accurately, both site collections, because we're going to do this in my demo at the site collection level. And we're going to have to configure a connection from the source farm to the target farm, or more accurately, from the source site collection to the destination site collection. Make sure our connection's working. Make sure our temporary storage locations are working, that kind of thing. Going to demo all of this for you in just a moment. Okay? Then we have to go in and set up a deployment path. So in the web content deployment area, we actually set up a path, and the path gives us our routing from staging to production. And then after we set that up, then we schedule a job. What kind of a job do we want to do, and when does it run? And we'll show you how to set all of that up here as well today before you leave. So, we really want to get into the demos, because the demos are more fun than what we should be allowed to have. And with that, I do this, and I do that, and then I come back here, and I'm going to come into my team site. Now, just for a moment here, I'm going to go ahead and bring up a site that I need in just a moment. I'm not on screen, huh? I could have sworn I hit that. Oh, I know why. I was telling it to go to the same server it was already on. Okay, here's a generic team site. This is a brand new, pristine site. Nobody has ever created anything from this site at all. And so what we want to do first here is just simply create a Word document. So I'm just going to come into Share Documents. I already have Word open here. I'm going to go ahead and close out this document called My Really Great Idea. By the way, for those of you who want to know, I am running this on Windows 2008 RC0. And if you didn't want to know that, then it was trivia that, is pretty useless for you, right? I'm full of useless trivia, believe me. Oh, come on, you guys. It's Friday afternoon. We got to have a little fun here, all right? So we're going to bring this up. And what we're going to do is create a document, and I'm going to call it my really great idea document. Some documents take longer to produce than others, as you might suspect. I have tried to warm these things up as much as I could before we started. So I'll take a question. Go ahead. No, this is neither staging nor production. This is my staging here. And notice that I'm calling it staging. And my production, I made a team site. I got to turn that into a blank site. When you first start out, I made a mistake already. When you first start out, your staging site must be a publishing portal, not a collaboration portal, a publishing portal. Your target site must be a blank site when you first start out. I don't care what you want it to be, it has to be a blank site. So I've already made a mistake here, and I'll have to figure out a way to rectify that. So this is my staging, and I've got that by the URLs so that we'll always know where we're at, staging and production. Any other questions while we go? What I'm trying to do here is the document publishing piece and show you how that works. I like that. This was written by the developer who did not attend the How to Write Good Error Messages class. They had that class, and he or she didn't go to the class that day. I just wonder if it wouldn't be faster to create another library. What I tend to do in situations like this, just so you know, I will try to troubleshoot it for a little bit, but if it doesn't work, I'm going to dump over to my slides and keep the presentation going so that you don't get too irritated. If you get a little annoyed, I suppose that's natural. But tell you what, why don't you come up and I'll just dump over to slides. I'm going to ask my good friend Steve Smith from Combined Knowledge to come up and fix this, and I'm going to dump over to my slides. And I'm sorry? Did it just do it? Oh, now it's moving. Okay, I'll come back here and see if I can get this to go quickly. Here's what would happen, and I'll see if I can get caught up this way. Come back here to the demo. The first thing we would do is at the farm level, we're going to have to turn on document conversions. Now, you wouldn't think that you'd have to go to the farm level first to do this, but before you go into the team site like I was trying, you're going to need to come to the farm level and turn on both the load balancer service and the document launcher service. Now, my services are already running. If I were to come back here, you would find that my services here are already running. What you're going to do is come into the team site, and I know I'm not on screen right now, but you're going to come in there and turn on those services on the web front end that you want those services running on. You start them both, and then after you do that, then you have to go into the documents conversions area under the external service connections and enable it for the web application in which you want it to work. So you have farm level services that have to get going, then you have to enable it at the web application level. So what that looks like here is this. I'll come back into operations. I'll switch my screen back over. And what you'll see is in the services on server, these are already started. If you want to just look at what's in the launcher service, there's not much there. You see, you choose your load balance web front end, the port number you want it to run it on. If you want it to run on a different port number, you put that in. You would also do that on, if that's an NLB, then you put the NLB host name in there. And then the load balancer service also has to be started. And again, there isn't much here at all. You just basically come in and start the service. There's really nothing there. You can choose whether it's to HTTP or HTTPS and what port number you want this to run on. But after you get done with that and come back here, then under Application Manglement, under External Service Connections, to click on Document Conversions, and this is where the fun is, right? Right, Bill? Thank you. I heard that. You choose the web application that you want conversions to work in. Now, in my situation, for giggles, I'm going to choose Team Site, because that's the site that I'm working in right now. And I'm going to say, okay, let's enable document conversions for this site. Let's choose our load balancer service. And let's have it run every minute. So if we submit a document for conversion from Word to HTML, then within a minute, the service is going to pick that up and it's going to run. It's another timer job. And it's going to run. And then we have our converter settings. Woohoo! Now these converter settings you need to pay attention to. If I were to click on this converter setting here, what we would see is that we have the converter information up top, but then we have some timeouts, maximum retries, and if you want to have a maximum file size, you can. You would do this so that users aren't taking 40 meg documents and trying to convert them into HTML, or 200 meg documents, or 2 gig documents, or whatever they are. So if you need to put a maximum size on it, you can. Interestingly enough, you can also write your own converters and plug them in back here. And you can go by default from info path to web pages, from the Word to web, from Word with macros to web, and from XML to web. Now we're going to click, oh, got to choose. Did you notice how my changes weren't preserved when I left the page and came back? So we'll click OK. And now we have, in essence, done the work that we needed to do in order to make document conversions available in the Team Site web application. Questions so far? Okay. Now let's come back to the Corp docs here. And I believe I have clicked New here. But I'll just click it. Yeah, I did, didn't I? And I'll say my really great idea. It's a standard document I create a lot of times. I have a number of great ideas. And I click Save here. And that should save it back to the document library, assuming that I opened this, that this opened from the new. And it does. There's the Windows 2008 interface. It looks an awful lot like Vista. Thank you. We'll click Save. Notice it goes and it grabs the content types that are available at that document library, finds that there's only going to be one. It's going to grab the default even if there was more, and then it's going to put that document into the library. So let's refresh the page here. And we should see that the document is now here within Corp Docs. Now, what happens when I try to convert this document at this point? Is it going to work? Let's find out. We get our convert document in the drop-down list, so we say from Word document to web page. And here's what's going to happen. It's kind of a snafu. What's going to happen is that this thing's going to try and convert it. But it's not going to want to put the HTML document in my Corp Documents document library. It's going to want to put it in a Pages library. In order for me to have a Pages library, what do I have to have installed or turned on? Somebody, anybody. Publishing, which is starts with an F, feature. Thank you. I have to have the publishing feature turned on. That's what this error message means. The Pages document library is missing. So even though I'm in a team site, in order to make the conversion happen, I have to have publishing turned on. This was written by one of the developers who did go to the How to Write Good Error Messages class. So what we'll do is, we come into Site Actions, Site Settings. Now, can I turn on publishing at the site level without turning it on at the site collection level? One knock for no, two for yes. Okay. So we'll do site collection features first, and we'll have to activate it here. The answer is no. If it's not turned on at the site collection level, then you can't turn it on at the site level. So we'll turn on publishing here at this level. Then we'll grab a cup of coffee, drink some water. Call the florist, buy my wife some flowers. Just so you know, I actually put 2.5 gigs of RAM into this image. So it's not for lack of trying to make it run a little faster. RC0 is just kind of slow. You might be wondering why I'm running RC0 too. There are reasons. That's all I'm going to say. When you live on the edge, you live on the edge, and everybody gets to live with you. So now that we've got that done, let's come back in here, Site Settings, and come into the Site Features, and we'll activate the publishing. Now, at this point, what is it doing? It's creating a Pages library, it's creating a Documents library, it's creating all sorts of other things under the hood to turn this team site into a publishing site. Now, you won't know it by looking at it because it doesn't go in and change the interface. But it did significantly change the functionality of that site. So now when I come into Corp Docs, drop-down list, convert document from Word to document, or from document to web page, it now says, oh, where do you want to put it? And where you want to put it is by default, it's going to go into the Pages library. Now, you can come in here and browse and say, I want it to go someplace else. But by default, it's going to want to put it in the Pages library. By the way, this configure converter settings, where have we seen this before? Did we see it at the farm level or the web application level? The answer is neither. Okay? When you come here, you get to choose which default page layout in the Pages library you want this converted document to use. Oh. Right? Woohoo! So if you want them to have a particular page layout when they convert the document from Word to HTML, you got to come in here and set it up here first. then put it in as a content type in the pages library. And then you can either store the CSS or remove it. There's some other things here. I don't have time to go through all of this. What time is it? Do I go till 3 or 3:30? I'm serious. I've forgotten. Somebody tell me while I do this. You can also set a default site for creating pages and not allow users to change the setting when they create the pages if you want to. And then you have some background information here. Do you want them to create the pages one at a time, or create the pages in the background and take the users back to the library while it's converting them? In other words, do you want it to stay focused on the conversion during the conversion process, or do you want it to say, when they say convert document, it says, okay, I'll do that in the background. I'm going to take you, the user, back to the library so you can continue working. So now I'll just cancel here because I want the defaults. We're going to call this the really great idea. You can also send an email, by the way, when the page is created, if certain people need to be notified when it's moved from the document to the HTML. So we click Create, and we allowed it to stay focused on the creation process. So this will take, depending on speed here, anywhere from a minute to 2 or 3 minutes, maybe even 5 at the most. Okay? So while this is happening, let me see what kind of questions you guys might have. I'm sorry, what's your question? Oh, can you use 2003 level documents and convert them into HTML? I believe, no. I think they have to be 07. I think they have to be DOCXs in order to make that happen. Okay? Other questions? Yes, sir. Are there other converters other than the ones that were shown in the page? Answer by out of the box, no. You'd have to write them. So notice we don't have like an Excel converter or a PowerPoint converter or something like that. Okay? There it is. My really great idea. It's published. It's in HTML, and it's sitting in the pages library. Now, at this point, nobody can see it but me. If I click Edit Page, look at what I get. What I'm going to get is the ability to go in and look at the content. Now, you're going to be tempted at this point to say, hey, let's throw a graphic in there. Don't do it, because this is only a roll-up image that only appears in the content query web part. If you need the images to appear with the text, you need to write yourself a customized page template that this document converts into. I tried taking an image, like embedding an image into this Word document and seeing if I could get the image to automatically roll into one of these image web part zones or web parts, and it didn't work. So you have to custom create that page if that's the kind of content that you're converting from Word to HTML. Now notice this little bad boy. See that? Update content from source. What does that mean? Well, before we do that, let me go ahead and publish this. And then I'll come back to it. Because now that it's published, it's going to appear on the page. Now, one of the really fun things about the document appearing on the page that is pretty elementary or pretty basic to the whole publishing concept is that I can have this as my public-facing page, while in the background I'm working to update it. And until I publish it again, the updates that I'm working on back here don't appear on this page. So, view all site content. Notice I got my pages library. When I come into the library, let me do it from here. It'll probably be easier to do it that way. No, it's good. Let me go ahead and make a change here. Now my, good heavens, my idea is even better. Should get us all a raise of 50% retro to Jan 1, 2006. Okay? And I'm going to save that. But where am I saving this? I'm saving this back to the document library, not the pages library. I'm working on the source document right now. So now when I come back here and I close this bad boy out and open up this guy, and I select, well, let's edit. Actually, no. I want to just open it. I'm going to open it and get my toolbar here. Should get it here. Show page editing toolbar. When I show the page editing toolbar and edit the page, that is when I get this update content from source. Click that. It should now go back to the document and grab that content and pull it in. And so we will wait while the operation is performed. What do you guys call this thing, by the way? We call it a windmill. What do you guys call it? The Wheel of Fortune. Okay. I think yours is a bit more cynical than mine. That's okay. That's enough. Now, why check it in and run it through a workflow when you can just publish it? Right? And there it is. And I'll take this page editing toolbar off, and that's what it would look like. So now when I came to this team site, I would have this page, and if I wanted to look at it, I could. Now that's document publishing. Any questions? Sir. His question is, it was not possible to put a picture in from Word. I was not able to get it to go. Have you ever been able to get it to go? Never tried. Okay. I tried several different ways and was not able to do it. If you have my slide deck, or you probably don't actually, but if you look at the slide deck here, what's interesting, I have a whole slide on this. You got to add it, I think, by either referencing an href in the HTML code and pulling that in from somewhere else, or you got to redo the page layout that will allow you to put the image in there somehow. But with the, and if I'm wrong and somebody's done it, please speak up, okay? I don't mind being told I'm wrong. But I was not ever able to get that to work. What happened was, if we opened it up in browser, we could upload the graphic using the browser here. But what happened was, it still didn't show up on the page. And the whole reason for that, and where this slide is coming from, is this. If I came into Edit Properties, okay, we checked it out, and we edited the properties. If I came and edited the properties and tried to put that graphic in here, what happened is it'll let me do it, but then it's another roll-up image, so it's only going to show up under certain situations. Does that make sense? It's not working the way I wanted it to either. You know, sometimes I can only tell you what and how. I can't tell you why. All right? So, yeah, I mean, you can grab a picture and put it in here, put a page image in here and put it in, but I think this page image refers to an icon that references the page itself. Now, the other way to do that was to have done this. Oh, gosh, you got to tell me when I'm screwing up like that. All right? Let me come back here and I'll show it to you again. Because it was here. I was referencing stuff I thought you guys were seeing. I apologize for that. Well, see, I can go ahead and edit picture, but this is still a roll-up image, this guy right here, which means it's only going to show up in certain instances. It's not going to show up on the page all the time. Grr, right? So let me cancel here. The other way to do this was simply to was to do this. Just open it up directly and then edit this. And you'll remember when you edited it that we had this image piece right down here. But that's the same thing. It's still that roll-up image. So it's just two different views of the same thing. So, you know, you're going to have to play around with this and see if you can build a page layout that'll grab images and pull it in. Other questions? If I click Edit Content here, no, I cannot add a picture here, or can I? Have I tried that? Okay, if I go down this path, I'm opening up about 4 or 5 windows. I just want you to know that. Let me see how fast it goes, because if it takes too long, I'm not going to demo this part. We select an image, we browse for the image, that opens up another window. The current site doesn't have any. Do we have any in the site collection area? Yeah. What I'm going to do is tell you to give it a shot. Give it a go and see if you can make it work, okay? But I can also come in here and, you know, I can add content here. Now, this does not write back to the source document. So you have to have a little bit of a manual workflow here that says, where are we going to consistently update content? Is it going to be via the browser in the web page or at the source document? Because you don't want to mix and match those guys and have it be sometimes in the document, sometimes in the browser, because you're going to get content mismatches. So, like most things in SharePoint, this requires good governance. The technology is usually not the problem. It's usually the lack of governance and people that really become the problem. Other questions? Yes, sir. There is a rollback function for published documents if you have turned on versioning in the library. You can take an earlier version and make that version the most recent version, just like we would in a regular library that has major minor versioning turned on. Another question? His question is, are there ways to automate this so that when a document is ready to be published, it just runs through these steps automatically? And the answer is yes. I would use a workflow for that. You would probably have to build that workflow in Visual Studio. And look, most of this stuff, look, the whole reason that not the whole reason, but a good portion of the reason that we do this is because we want this stuff to be approved before it gets put on a website, right? So you're probably going to have workflows, approval workflows built in. You can just have the workflow go ahead and run the publishing after, you know, Mr. or Mrs. Important signs off on it. Does that make sense? Okay. Other questions? You know, you guys are doing real good. It's Friday afternoon. You've been here for 4 days. You've been talked to for 4 or 5 days now. I'm proud of you. You're doing good. Take the encouragement, okay? All right. Now, what do we do here? How do we get this into a Pages site, in a staging site? Well, you'd like to think that you could just come in to the Pages library and that you could take the settings here, and in the document library settings, under the advanced section, you could set up a custom send to. Right? That's what we'd like to do. So we come into settings, advanced settings actually, I'm sorry, and we're going to say, let's do a custom send to. So the destination name would be the staging press releases. And the URL will be http / staging it's not going to work anyways, so it really doesn't matter what I put here. So we're going to click OK. This is one of the examples of the Men Who Won't Marry feature. It'll allow you to do it, but it won't allow you to commit it after you've done it. Okay. So when I come back here to 2 pages, yeah, see, that's kind of a subtle one, isn't it? That's a little bit of subtle humor there. We get our send to, but we don't get the custom send to. And no matter what you type in there, and no matter how many times you do it, you're not going to get it. Okay? So the way that we move this from one location to another is through drag and drop. Remember, you're loving it, right? Loving it, living it, breathing it. I'm going to come back here into staging, press releases. And press releases in this particular template is a subsite. And so we're going to come into site actions, view all site content, and we're going to come into the pages area here, and we're going to open up the this through the whatever we're calling it today. Did I lose my other window? We're going to right-click, copy, right-click, get a cup of coffee, paste. Now, if your users are uncomfortable with right-click, copying, and pasting, I really don't know what to tell you. That should be a skill that they have by now. And now it's there. See, so now I do this and I do that, and I kill a couple of these windows here, and now we should have it in the press releases area. Okay. Now you can have workflow do that too. Your workflow, the approval workflow, can be customized to send it to this library here. Okay. All right. Let's come back now and shift from document publishing to web content deployment. But before I do that, let me see if there's any other questions before I head into web content deployment. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, Steve just reminded me. You can use the SharePoint remote web service and SharePoint Designer to move the documents to between libraries. Good one. Thank you. Well, I'm sure you could. I'm sure you could script it. His question is, could you script it? And my answer is, I'm sure you could. But don't ask me how. See, if I don't have a graphical interface, I need to have a heart-to-heart talk with you about web content deployment. So I'm going to do a little group therapy with you, okay? We only deploy content, and we only deploy it from lists and libraries. This is not an injection molding process where we're going from a site and we're taking everything about that site that we've got and we're injecting it into this other site and overriding whatever is there. That is not what's happening in web content deployment. What's happening is we're going into the lists and the libraries, and we're grabbing the lists and the libraries, and we're copying them over, the content over to here. That's all we're doing. If you make it be more than that, you'll be sorely disappointed. Anything outside of a list is not deployed. There's two things here that you've got to really consider. Your workflows and your content types. The content types define the kind of content that you have in your lists and libraries. If the content type IDs don't match, it won't deploy. So let's say that you've got your staging site and you create a new content type called content type A. And you give it columns 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you go over to your production site and you create a content type called content type A. And you give it columns 1, 2, 3, and 4. The content that resides in the staging site will not copy over to the production site, even though you have identical content types. Why is that? Because of what you see on the screen behind me. It's going from content type ID to content type ID, and the IDs need to match. If you create a new content type over here in production, that's a different content type ID than what you have over here in staging. So you need to package up all of the workflow and content type customizations into a solution deployment and deploy them to both the staging and the production site collections or web applications. Questions? Make sense? What if you have content type A with columns 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you decide you need to drop column 2 and you need to add column 5? Or better yet, let's forget about adding column 5 for a moment. But you guys got to drop column 2. The best practice here is not to delete column 2 in both your staging and the production. The best practice is to make it read-only and hide it, but don't delete it. Because if you delete it in staging, it'll still be looking for it in production. If you delete it in both, you may get away with it. But the best practice from the product team is not to mess around with that. Instead, just mark it read-only, hide it, and be done. Okay? Now, some of the error messages that you might see. Missing content types. If the content types don't have a match, you'll get a missing content type. And the error message is the value does not fall within the expected range. I'm just the messenger, okay? Love y'all. Updated content types. Fields added to the source, but not the destination environment. This causes a field, whatever the field name is, does not exist, warning message. It's not critical, but you'll need to resolve it. If you add a column over here, then you're going to have to go over here to production and add the same column. If you don't do it in both places, the new column is not copied over because we're not deploying definitions and structure, we're deploying content. Make sense? What if there's a missing dependency? For example, you have a content item that is looking for a workflow, and that workflow doesn't exist over here in the production site, but it does exist in the staging site. Well, the items will be copied over, but you'll get an error message. You see, if this item has a dependency, then we automatically copy the item and the dependency over to production. But what we do not copy is the underlying structure and definition of that dependency. So we might copy the workflow information for that content item, but we're not going to copy the workflow itself. You need to have gone over here into production and created that workflow over here. So I want to come back to what I started with. We're deploying content. We're not taking a site and kind of injecting it or inscribing it in stone over in production. Questions or thoughts? The connectivity between these two servers is SMBs and RPCs. Yes, sir. It does have the structure. You just turn on the features. The blank site does have all the right features already installed. When we go from staging to production, I'm sorry, his question was, for those who didn't hear, I'm sorry, and try to repeat the questions. Why, if we're only deploying content, why in the initial deployment do we go from a publishing portal to a blank site portal? And the answer is because the blank site, that's how they wrote the code. It's just how they wrote it. And B, the blank site has all the features that we need that can be turned on and leveraged in order to create what we're after. Now, if you have a firewall between these guys, you got to open up the SMB and RPC ports. The RPC ports, so the server message blocks. It's just straight file copies is what we're doing. Okay, that's what's happening here. Some larger deployments have timeout issues. They are very aware of this. For those of you who might be trying to deploy large segments of content from staging to production, they're aware of that. They're working on a hot fix, and I don't fully understand this. I'll just tell you. They're working on a hot fix that will add indices into the SQL database so that the SQL database knows which content it needs to deploy more quickly and to help reduce these timeout errors. In their testing so far, by adding these indices to the SQL databases, they have greatly improved, vastly improved performance time. So they're working on a hot fix now. It'll be out, I don't know when, soon, was my impression. Okay. By the way, if you downloaded the slide deck before an hour ago, you don't have these slides. So you're going to want to go back up and re-download the deck because this was updated about an hour ago with some of these slides. Now, let's talk about how we do content deployment in SharePoint Server 2007. The first thing that we need to do in SharePoint Server 2007 is to go into Central Administration and tell it that we're going to accept incoming jobs. Now, the first link that you deal with here when you're first setting it up, the first thing you go to is the second link. So you go to Content Deployment Settings, and you're going to say Accept Incoming Deployment Jobs. This is on the Destination Farms Central Administration. You can do this either between farms or within the same farm. Either way, you got to do this. You're going to select your import and export servers. Since I'm on a single server, it's the same one. Do you want to require encryption? Only if you have enough therapy hours in your benefits plan to talk about this after you finally got it resolved. The path and the reporting, and you click OK, and that's what you do in central administration. And then the OK takes you to the site settings page, which is a natural place for you to land. So you click on the Operations tab and come back, and you click on the Content Deployment Paths and Jobs. Oh, I didn't clear out my paths and jobs. Because I am a guy who likes to live dangerously, instead of showing you what I've already done, I'd rather just do it from scratch. So I'm going to delete what I have here and recreate it. Now it's all gone. This is what you would normally get. So you're going to create a path, and then you're going to create a job. So when we create the path, what are we doing? We're saying, this is where I want to go from, and here's what I want to go to. So I'm going to say from staging to production. Now notice you can be deploying from many different site collections to other many different site collections. So you can have a many-to-many relationship here with different paths defining the deployment vectors by choosing your web application. In this case, I'll choose staging, and then choosing which site collection within that web application you want to select. Since we only have one, we'll choose the root. If we have managed paths here, we could choose other site collections to go from. You do not need to deploy from a root site collection. You can deploy from other site collections as well within the web application. And then we type the URL of the destination central administration server. Again, I'm in a single server environment, so that's not hard for me to remember. And I always choose 51s as my random port number because I can remember it. If you need to connect by a different account, you can put that information here, or you can let the application pool account do the connection for you. Now, before I can go down here and work with my destination web app and usernames and all that stuff, I got to make sure that the connection's working. It won't let me come in here and do anything until I test the connection. So in order to do that, I'm going to click Connect. And what we want to see, hopefully, is the green connection succeeded and not the other one that says connection didn't succeed. It would be red or in some other kind of thing like that. Okay? So now that that works, now we can choose our destination web application. So we're going to choose production, but before I do that, I really had better, just to be completely clean here, I better go in and delete that site collection and recreate it. So this is a side note. This is the value add for the presentation. The way that you delete a site collection in a web application is to come into this area, and we're going to grab the production web application, and we're going to click OK, and then we select delete. And then I have to create a site collection. And my mistake early on was that I made it a team site and not a blank site. So I'm going to go ahead and do this here, and I'll make it a blank site this time. One little click. And we'll click OK. That should create a blank site relatively quickly because they're not complicated to create. And there's my Wheel of Fortune. And now when I come back here and refresh, I should get a blank site, not a team site. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? I mean, just aesthetically speaking, I think blank sites are just beautiful. Yeah. So now we come back into operations. And we have to start over because that's what we like to do. from staging to production. I like how it tells me that and then refreshes to the top of the page. That's always a nice touch. Now we come in here to production, and then it refreshes to the middle of the page, so we scroll back down to choose our site collection, and we'll choose this root site collection. And do you want to deploy the usernames or not? Well, this is a little bit of a bug here, because what's going to happen is that the pages are actually going to show, if you choose to deploy the usernames, and the users who modified the pages in staging will appear in production. If you don't choose that, then the system, I believe it's the system account that's going to show up there instead. So depending on your content, if it's like news articles, you work for a TV, radio, magazine, and you want the byline of the people who wrote the stories to appear, then you're going to deploy the usernames. If it's, you know, some kind of engine company who's selling pistons, you may not care, and you may use the system account or something like that. I went a long way for that, I'm sorry. So you can choose to deploy usernames or not, and whether you want the security information deployed. So we'll come down here, we'll click OK. And I found out that I have unread data in my Groove workspace. That was always helpful to know. So we'll do this, and now the path gets created. Questions so far? Now that path is interesting, and you can come here and, you know, do some things, but really you can't do much with it until you create a job. Now the job is the scheduling of when this information is actually going to be deployed. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to call this the daily full deployment. Now, I'm not saying you should do daily fulls, but we're going to do one. You can give it a description if you want to, and notice that you can choose the path. Now, do you want to do the entire site collection, or do you just want to do specific sites or webs within the site collection? The web level is the most granular that you can go. One of the customer requests for the next version is that you give us deployment at a much more granular level than the site level. The product team has heard that. But for now, this is all we got. And I'm going to go ahead and do the entire site collection. And then I've got my scheduling information here. That's all pretty straightforward. And then you want to make sure that your deployment option matches your title. So if I only deploy new or changed or deleted content, this is my incremental. And of course, this would be my full. And then if I want to send emails when it succeeds or if it fails, who do I send it to? You can have those alert emails generated. I won't do that for now since this system that I'm using doesn't have email turned on. I don't have an Exchange server here. So I'm going to click OK. So now we have the path and the job created. We've enabled the farm to do content deployment. Now the fun starts. Do I want to test it, or do I want to live dangerously and just run it? Run it, of course. I'm an administrator. Now what happens is that this page will refresh once. And as it refreshes once, you'll see that it's preparing. And as it prepares, you're going to see that eventually it's not going to do anything. We're going to have to refresh this page. Now, is this going to work? No. What did I miss? Well, there's a little deal over here, and you'll see it in your slides later. There's a little deal over here called the quick, no, I'm sorry. No, this should work. It's quick deploy that wouldn't work. Yeah. Actually, this one should work. But you're gonna let me explain this while this is running here. Let me go ahead and refresh this page and then explain quick deploy here for just a moment. Quick deploy is where you want an individual content item to be quickly deployed from staging to production. So we have this path, we have this job. We're gonna update this site once a day, every 24 hours. Well, what if there's particular items within the site that we want to have deployed immediately? Maybe it's a memos thing, maybe somebody got a price wrong on an item, and we need to do a quick deploy on the pricing. And we don't want to wait till another 24 hours to get that deployed. Well, what you're going to be able to do is go into a published, past tense, a published content item in the Pages library, and you're going to be able to select from the page editing toolbar, quick deploy. And that quick deploy for that item will follow what we would see here for the quick deploy job. So if I were to edit this and do my quick deploy settings, we're going to A, allow quick deploy jobs along the path. B, we're going to select our minutes. The lowest you can go is every 10 minutes. But then you got to specify quick deploy users. You can't just say anybody can do it. And when you specify quick deploy users, you are taken to a special group within the site that is called quick deploy users. And notice it's in the staging site, and it's going to pop up, and you're going to want to add some users in here. Now, just for giggles, I'll add in the local administrator, just to show you that you can do it from here. And we actually want to give them the quick deploy users group. Don't really need to send an email. Click OK, and we'll solve that part of the puzzle. So you got to have special permissions for that user to do what is called quick deploy. Then you can send emails and job succeeds, that kind of thing. Click OK. Now that we come back here, this does take a while. Okay? So while that's happening, let me run back through my slides and make sure I've covered all the content. I'm sorry, that I wanted to cover for you. So after we set up our quick deploy users, what I'm going to be able to show you in just a moment is that we'll be able to take that press release that we copied over, or whatever, that really great idea document that we copied over, and we're going to show the page editing toolbar, and we're going to show you how to do that quick deploy. Now, let me stop here and see if there's any questions, comments, thoughts. What happens if I remove the quick deploy group? You lose quick deploy capabilities. But I don't think blue smoke comes out of the CD-ROM drive or anything like that. So, but it also tags, it takes a picture of you and some biographical information and sends it to the secret part at Microsoft where they keep track of us all. So, it's a joke, you guys. Come on. It's Friday afternoon. I'm entitled. Yes, sir. That's correct. Yes, that's true. Actually, that's a great point. His first comment was, if you remove the quick deploy users, then you can't make quick deploy settings, which is true. But he's also right. His second comment was, I can actually click on this running, and I can actually see how the job is going. And maybe I should just go ahead and put that on screen for you so that you can see it too. So what I've done is I've clicked on running here, and this is another instance where you might want to get a cup of water or some coffee. But you can see what's happening here. It's running, it's importing, and so far it's exported 1092 and 1080, and here's the content size and that kind of thing. You can view the history and check the deployment of a specific object. Now if I click on that link, I'm not presented with much. How much coffee can you, depends on how many deployment jobs you have going, will dictate how many cups of coffee you do here. So this is a page that'll help you see what's happening. I've seen this page more than once where it just gets stuck and it's running. Now, what if you started deployment, just by the way, not that I've ever done this, but what if you start a deployment job and then try to stop it? Can you stop the deployment job once it starts? The answer is not easily, and certainly not cleanly. So I wouldn't recommend that once you start a deployment job that the way to stop it is to go in and to delete the job while it's running. I wouldn't suggest that you do that, because then you have to go back in and delete a lot of other stuff and delete sites and recreate things. So once the deployment job starts, you ought to let it finish. If it does hang somehow, then you might want to try starting and stopping services, the timer services in control panel, and see if you can get that to work. You might also want to go in and delete the current timer job that is trying to do the quick deploy or the regular deploy, and then see if you can restart services and get the deployment running again. Those are things that we have seen. Now let's come back here to our paths and jobs. It should say that it succeeded, but the real test is not in this word. The real test is coming back here to team sites. No, let's just get rid of that. The real test is coming into staging and saying, okay, what does staging look like? And now what does production look like? I want you to know that's a caching issue. So I'm going to reopen up the browser here. I'm just going to go straight to production. For those of you who don't like to see those dialog boxes, there's a reason I have that on. Don't worry about it. If it's an irritant, I'm sorry. Yeah, you know, this is a little bit of a woohoo for me. I want you to know that. I was doing a presentation at TechEd, I think it was 2004, and I was showing how to back up and restore a SharePoint 2003 farm. And I know I'm way off topic with you guys, but I feel like I can do this here. So I just remembered that I had torn down my entire farm and didn't tear it down in the right order, and I really honestly screwed up in front of everybody, and I barely recovered, and it was like one of those. because I almost didn't get my farm back, and it was a live demo, you know, and I didn't have backups. It was all live. So yeah, I'm glad that worked, because now I can like myself and respect myself again. Okay. Let me show you a couple other things here real quick on this. If I were to come into press releases, we should see that that really great idea document is sitting there. And if I view all site content here, in my pages library, because I copied it over, oh, that's right. I blew away that, didn't I? Okay, let's do it again. I wonder if I can show it on the default. Yeah, I bet I can just show these on the default. Let me just show it on the default. It'll be faster to do it that way. Now that this has actually been deployed, when I come in here to press releases, hang with me, gang. It only gets better, not worse. All right? So if I actually come into this press release page, here it is. The way that I quick deploy this is to show the page editing toolbar. And under Tools, I should have Quick Deploy here. And it would look like that. Oh, I'm on the wrong server, of course. Duh. I feel like I'm having a moment here. Yeah, you're right. I was on the wrong server. Or on the wrong whatever. So I come into press releases here, and we're focused on that page, aren't we? Yeah, we are. And now in the page editing toolbar, Tools. Woohoo! Right? Let me show you something that I really like about this bad boy. And I clicked the wrong button there. It's not the button I wanted, so I'm going to discard this because I want to show you one of the things that you should like, and one of the things that you will grow to like if you haven't already, is not just staying out till 12 o'clock having dinner in Spain, but it is also viewing all site content, coming into the pages, and within this document you can schedule when it appears and doesn't appear. So I'm going to edit the properties here. Now, I want to tie something, I want to connect two dots with you. I want to connect this schedule start date and schedule end date piece. I want to take that and just tuck that graphic away for just a moment. And let me come in and modify all site settings. No, my bad. Let me come into the document libraries. Settings. See this manage item scheduling piece? This is what produces that ability to start and stop the page. Now what's nice about that is that you can take that pages piece and you can literally come into that library and you can say, okay, let's get going on building out the 2 or 3 or 5 pages that we need for the upcoming golf outing or the upcoming winter party or the annual company meetings. And your people can sit here and build them out and get them through an approval process and have them all ready to go. And then one day, on the day that you specify here, they just appear. And on another day, they just go away. Woo! Because I haven't checked it in and published it. The reason the really great idea hasn't appeared is because I haven't checked it in and published it. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay? Let me, because the idea is even better now than it was before. So let me go ahead and check this in. And let's make it a major version. And we'll click OK. Now it should appear at this point with it as a press release over here on the left side. Was it something I said? It's like the room's emptying out here, you know. Am I out of time? Oh my gosh. How far am I? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I went till 3. Oh, stink. You're just going to have to trust me. It works. And with that, have a great rest of the session.